Okay, continuing on, we're going to talk about the trade settings section, which is going to be all of this. So I'm going to go through some of this in obviously detail. But before I do, I want to take a step back and I want to make sure that we're all on the same page as far as what Simple Strat is actually doing and how it's actually working. The reality is that the strat is based on multiple time frames, and we need to understand what's going on in multiple time frames, put those pieces together to formulate what our understanding or what our thought process is as far as how the trade is going to play out, or what direction things are moving in and why, what levels are important. And so in order to do that, we have to analyze things, like I said, on multiple time frames. What the rest of these settings, for the most part, what the rest of these settings throughout the rest of all this stuff over here is all related to what I just described. It's turning knobs, it's flipping switches, it's tweaking things, it's making adjustments so that you can make adjustments and understand how the slightest little change on maybe the higher time frame makes a change on the lower time frame, which changes the results of your these are the results of the actual back test, right? So what I'm going to go through, you have to keep in mind that we're right now I'm on the 15-minute chart for Apple, okay? So I might be working on the 15-minute chart, but I'm going to be making changes and making assumptions and configurations that are taking place on several other time frames besides the 15. We're looking at the results based on the 15, but I'm making changes and configuring things on the day, the week, the month, and so on and so forth. All right, so I'm going to open this back up. Again, trade settings. So the first thing that we're going to say is, okay, well, what's the higher time frame that we're actually looking for the strat signal to occur on? So the very first thing is, where is the strat signal occurring? Where is it that we want to watch? And in this case, I have selected the hourly. So the 60-minute is what I'm looking for, and it pretty much aligns with what Rob talks about, especially the newer strat traders. Stick to the 60s and 30s, and trade reversals back into time frame continuity. That's exactly what this is that I'm going to be going through. That's exactly the concept of what I'm talking about in this example. So the higher time frame that we're looking at is going to be the hour. You can set it to 2 hours. You can set it to the day. If you want to look at reversals on the day, you can set it to reversals on the week, whatever. So it's only looking at the reversal for a specific time frame. We're going to add a whole slew of other things down, lower in this list. But that's the first thing that we start at. Trade directions, pretty self-explanatory. Are we going long or are we going short? I also have a call and put because I added features which I'll be explaining next as far as options. So you can trade options, and if you're trading options, you obviously going to say, well, I'm going to go long on an option, or it's a call, and vice versa if it's a put. Trade type, yeah, you guessed it, stock or option. So let's pretend we're going to change this. We're going to go with an option. All right. So now let's talk about this. This stuff right here is the only settings that you need for Simple Strat to issue orders to buy and sell options. There's not a whole lot of glitz and glamour with this. It's literally just executing the orders. You're not going to be able to see the options chain. You're not going to be able to see any of the all the real good nitty gritty detail that you want. This is really more so for scalping, or if you know ahead of time, the strike, or excuse me, if you know ahead of time the expiration that you're going to be looking for, that's really the purpose of this. If you're looking to strategically look at and pick the option, the strike based on volume, based on delta. Whatever, it's probably not going to work out for you. But like I said, for scalping purposes, for quick ins and outs, for zero DTE, for, things like that, perfect. Absolutely perfect. We're always going to be buying at the money. Okay. So it's always going to be at the money. and it's mathematically figuring out on the back end what the current at the money strike is, or one out of the money it should be, for whatever platform you're going to be trading on. Currently, what is supported for options is Ameritrade, obviously because I'm using Ameritrade, as well as Tradier Paper and Tradier Live, right? Oanda doesn't have options, and TD Ameritrade, still working on that. So pretty much you have three selections. I'm looking for this Friday's expiration, next Friday's expiration, or a specific date. So this Friday, regardless of what day of the week we're in right now, it's always going to know what this Friday's expiration is. With the caveat, if this Friday is a holiday, for example, if it's, the market's not open, it's going to select this Friday, and then it's going to give you an error when you try to submit the auto submission, because it's going to say, well, there's no expiration for this Friday because the market's closed. But any other normal time, any normal week, you could select this Friday, and automatically it will, on the back end, already have selected. You don't need to fill out this if you use this Friday, and the same for next Friday. Okay, so it automatically knows. If you don't want to trust this over here, or let's say you want to look for an expiration 3 weeks out, 4 weeks out, or what have you, all you got to do is just select specified date. Nope, specific date. And you have to follow this format right here. Year, month, day, hyphens included. So if you do that, so let's see, 2023, I'm currently in May, and the expiration is the 19th. So so today is Wednesday, May 17th, 2023. What this will do is automatically select this Friday's expiration for whatever ticker that we're on right now. Or if I didn't feel like doing that, I could just select that. And it'll if you select this Friday or next Friday, it's going to ignore what's in here. The only way it's going to pay attention to what's in here is if you select the specific date. Okay? Contract, just like it sounds. This is where you are manually specifying the number of contracts you want to buy. It is not going to automatically calculate anything. It's, I could create calculations to try to figure out what the price is. It's just no way to be accurate. So I'm not even going to try to back into the number of contracts that I can afford based off of my risk tolerance, because it's just too wonky. Everybody knows that with options. So instead, you're going to have to manually put in the number of contracts you want to trade. So if you're trading Apple and you're going to trade this week's expiration, you put in 5, it's going to buy 5, and then when it's time to sell it, it's going to grab the 5 that you have active, and it's going to go ahead and sell those, or sell to close. Okay, so that's that. So then moving on to this section, which has nothing to do with any options or anything like that. This section is literally what it says. Take more aggressive setups, typically more trades with higher risk. What this basically means is we define the hour as the reversal that we're going to be looking at. However, as I mentioned, we're on the 15-minute chart. So on the 15-minute chart, the 15-minute chart is what's actually going to trigger you into the trade. So when the 15-minute bar crosses the trigger, and this example is a 212 right over here. So this 2, let me move this out of the way. This 2 up triggered this green inside bar. This is the candle, this is the candle that triggered it. Now, yeah, it would be the hourly, but it's looking for the initial stop. It's placing it on this lower time frame, and it's doing its calculations based off of the lower time frame, the 15-minute in this case. Now, you can enter on a 5-minute, you can enter on a 3-minute, you can enter on whatever you want, and it's going to calculate based off of that time frame what the initial stop should be, what the number of shares should be, so on and so forth. So again, it's triggering in on that higher time frame reversal, but it's using the lower time frame. Whatever chart you're on is the time frame that it's going to set as the initial stop and the entry. Well, the more aggressive setups would be, an example of that would be, I want to trigger in on a 2-2 continuation. Okay, so that would be a good example. 2-2 continuation. This would have triggered in if I had the settings set properly for this to be a 2-1-2 reversal with continuity. If you don't want this to trigger in on a 2-2 continuation on the lower time frame, again, this is only the lower time frame I'm referring to for this section right here, you can uncheck it and it will not enter you in on, oh, there you go. So just remove that trade right here because it entered in on a 2-2 continuation. So if we take a look right over here, I think this is where it was. Yeah. So I'm going to turn it off real quick, but you'll see this is a 2, and this barely is a 2 up. It almost looks like an inside. This red bar right here is a 2 up, and therefore it would have triggered you in on that because you said, I want to take more aggressive setups, 2-2 continuation. If you didn't include that, it didn't include the actual trade because it's a 2-2 continuation, and it only will look for strat reversals back into the higher time frame reversal. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. Flatten at time. So I close my positions out at the end of the day. I don't like carrying overnight, holding overnight. So this is on military time, what time I want to automatically sell all my positions. So I had some positions that automatically traded today. And so here's an example. You can see it over here, Roblox. This closed out at... well, I can't find the exit. Well, it should have closed out at 4:45 East, 3:45 Eastern. So let me go back to Apple. And I think that's pretty much all I wanted to cover on this original section right here, the trading settings. And then what we'll start to get into, next are going to be the targets. So stay tuned.